Hi, friends. I'm Olivia. This is AV Club, where I talk about horror, lit fic, weird books, whatever I want to talk about. And today I'm doing a kind of rapid fire review of four recent horror releases. It's been a weird few couple of months, and yeah, I've gotten a little bit behind on reviewing, especially my Netgalley arcs. And so I just wanted to be able to review those today. So I have three Netgalley arcs that I read on time but just didn't get a full video review up for. And then another book where the author reached out to me for reviewing their book. And yeah, so a little bit of everything here and some very different horror picks. I don't want to get sent to NetGalley purgatory for not reviewing my stuff. I don't know, some people might just like put in like their written review and like link to Goodreads or whatever, and then like if they post on YouTube, then do it. But I always just wait until it's on YouTube, and so like my percentage falls really far behind. But Molka by Monica Kim has been put on NetGalley, and I want to get approved so bad. So I want my percentages to look good, whatever. And so here's me righting my wrongs. These are in really no particular order, and I will talk about the release date, although they go back as far as August. So the first one that I read was How Bad Things Can Get by Darcy Coates, which came out on August 26th by Poison Pen Press. I did talk about this one before, but I had intended to do a full review and I just didn't get to it. So, yeah, this one was really interesting. It was my favorite so far that I've read by Darcy Coates because I've previously only read like her haunted house stories, and they are pretty formulaic. Like they're fun and cozy, you know what you're gonna get, but pretty formulaic. Whereas like this one had some different flavors to it. Her other books really focused on like one woman alone in a house. Like maybe there was like a slight romantic interest in the village that she was in, or like one other character, but it wasn't about like a cast of characters. And How Bad Things Can Get has a full cast of characters, and they all have intriguing elements. There's more mystery to it. It follows a woman who is going to a influencers survival competition on this island that is hosted by a Mr. Beast like character. It says that it's like Firefest, but it's not really Firefest. It's so Mr. Beast. Like it's about like the challenges, and it talks about the YouTube thumbnails, which are very Mr. Beast inspired. I understand though why they didn't want to like use a specific person's name in, kind of like comp title type stuff, but it covers things like cults. It covers true crime kind of vibes, influencers, abuse of power by influencers and cults. And those are kind of like two different ideas. Like it could have gone in like a really simplistic way, because it could have been like influencers are bad and they're like a cult, and this, but it really wasn't that. And I just like thought that there was more intrigue, more mystery, definitely more excitement, more character development. So yeah, my favorite from Darcy Coates so far. And I will probably look to read some more of her books that aren't just like the haunted house like story, because this one did impress me. The next one is Breathe In, Bleed Out by Brian McAuley, which came out on September 2nd. This one kind of surprised me too. It was like one of like the read nows on NetGalley for a bit, and the cover of it was like very like pulp horror vibes. Like I thought that it was going to be more of a risk than it really was to read. Like I thought the artwork was kind of maybe, I didn't know how it was going to treat women in the story because that was just like kind of the vibe that I got was like that there might be problematic elements, but there really weren't. It really was like this group of friends going to a yoga retreat. I think it was Joshua Tree. Like I think it was Southern California. And yeah, it's like Scream. It's a slasher at this yoga retreat, which was like a very unique setting. All of the kills were really fun. Scream? No, maybe I don't want to say Scream. Maybe it was more like Final Destination, because it was like these like really over the top kind of metaphorical type of killings. So yeah, it wasn't brutal or grim. I mean, it was brutal. There was like gore, but it wasn't grim. Like it was not misogynist in any kind of way. There was like interesting dynamics between the characters and their histories, and commentary on the types of people who run these like specific yoga retreats, not about like people who do yoga, but abuses of power there and manipulative tactics. So this one was like really fun. If you're looking for a really fun slasher, like I think this one's good. And then the one where the author reached out to me was Don't Get Blood in My House by Matthew King, which came out on August 16th. So a while back, but he just reached out to me, I think, last week, and I read it pretty quickly. This was a very interesting book. This is the first time that I've taken on a book for review that was like the author reaching out to me specifically. However, he had made like some video ads for it that were appealing to me, even though like I really didn't know what I was getting into, because there's very few reviews for it on Goodreads. And yeah, you just don't know what you're getting into. But it was sold as like a queer horror where these killers are coming together for a dinner party, and they all have to bring like a victim to this dinner party. And this was a wild ride. I will say that it is not as like straightforward of a novel as you might suspect. However, this one, the characters really are the star of the show here, more so than a plot that takes you through. Um, I did write some notes down because I haven't done a written review for this yet. I don't even know what my star rating is. I will say that it was like very interesting. And I do think if you have a queer story, then having something that is trying the formal constraints of a novel makes sense. However, because it's not a straightforward novel and it's like very confusing at times, like what's actually going on, um, I wanted to write down some notes. First of all, this book starts with an apology from the author about it being like his first like independently published book, and so there's like mistakes and whatever. I will say, like, I don't think that was necessary. I think that you got to just put your best foot forward and, put your art out there. And yeah, trying is such an important part of it, but it kind of like sets a weird tone for the reader, like if the book starts with like an apology that like maybe this isn't that good. So just like have some confidence. um the punctuation. So this was like edited by his partner, I believe, and I think his wife. I don't want to speak out of turn, but so I didn't expect it to be like perfectly edited. There's like still some typos here and there. The punctuation, I think, made it a little bit challenging to read, because a lot of times like it would just be commas instead of like a period, and like it just kept being run on, as well as that it used a sans serif font for the entire book. I received it as a PDF, so like there was no way to change the font. And so it was like very difficult to read. If you've never noticed, almost all books are published in a serif font because it is a lot easier for the eyes to read a serif font for big amounts of information. A lot of times on websites it'll be sans serif for like short amounts of information, but reading a whole book like that, it was challenging for me. So those are just like the only like editing things that I think would get in the way of someone's like enjoyment of the book. It felt very professionally done. Like it didn't feel like you were like reading someone's like Word document that hadn't been formatted or anything like that. Like um it felt like very thoughtful. So really like the inability to change the font was the most trying part of it for me. So it has kind of like an amorphous structure where it really is like based around these characters. They are all like these over the top characters that almost remind me of something like from an anime or like from WWE wrestling. Like it's like these like very thematic people who all have like different abilities, or like something from a video game, something like a character hero game, a hero action game, like a Dead by Daylight, where it's like they're very um, they have, you can tell that they would have very different silhouettes and very different abilities. Like there's a witch and a cop and uh, someone who has tentacles. So like they all have like very different characteristics. And I will say like this book had some of the most fun dialogue I've read in so long. Whenever I have read some books recently where I'm like, but where's the flavor? Where is the flavor? This book had all the flavor. Like it, all of the dialogue was so well written and natural isn't the right word, but believable, and coming from like very different characters. But there was also a lot of dialogue. Like I felt like the book could have been a little bit longer and having more prose to kind of link together what was going on. So yeah, it had like an amorphous structure. Like it's supposedly about this like dinner party, but they're like at this, it's like kind of like a haunted cursed mansion. They play like a haunted cursed board game there. Some people get sent to like an alternate dimension, and so they know that like maybe 15 minutes have gone by at this dinner party, but they've been spending like hundreds of years doing something else. So like it is like kind of hard to follow all of it. The author had done like the character art for the cover, and I almost feel like I would have enjoyed it more if I'd had like visuals of like what was going on, like more picture inserts. Like I feel like this book would have worked so well as like a comic book, or a visual novel video game. Like I even though the characters were so interesting, it was like still kind of hard to follow what was going on whenever it was just so much dialogue. But yeah, I have to say like it was a very refreshing read after reading stuff where I'm like, what was the point of this? Like, you feel what the point of this was. Like, it does have an effect and it's like very flavorful. So I hope other people do read this because I would love to hear other people's take. I think that people could really get into these characters. And yeah, but I can't say enough how much it is like atypical structure. Like, um, if you don't like weird books, like I don't think this is the one for you because you have to just like dive in and be along for the ride. And it's just like such a set of scenes put together. And it really is about like you have to care about the characters and like the characters to at the end be like, okay, I get what the point of this was, because it's not about us. It just doesn't follow like a typical novel structure, but very interesting. And so thank you to the author for reaching out to me, and happy to review it on the channel. And then this last one, I was like, I hate when the publishers do this. Sorry to say, but they approved me for the book like the day before it came out after it's been like sitting in their queue for so long. But whatever. I guess I, got the audiobook for free, didn't have to wait in a library queue. So I'm still grateful for the chance to review it. And that is The Graceview Patient by Caitlin Starling. I got this on audiobook through Netgalley, and I think audiobook is the way to go with this one. It was just like really well done, and it is like such a claustrophobic novel. It is following this woman who has an autoimmune disease, a very rare autoimmune disease, and she gets into this like drug trial at this hospital, and weird stuff happens, and it's a lot about the feelings of like mistrust in the hospital system, about being taken advantage of uh your autonomy being taken away from you. And yeah, it feels so claustrophobic. So like hearing like a first person POV through audiobook, like it, I really enjoyed that. um It one of the comp titles I feel like gives away a little bit too much about what's actually going on in this story, but the other one that they said was Misery, which I think is a great start. So if you want something where it's like this woman is like stuck in bed and all of this stuff is just like happening around her and she has no control over it. She doesn't know if she can trust the nurse who seems to be on her side, the doctor who has all the authority. She makes friends with another woman at the hospital who's going through the same thing, who mysteriously vanishes. So like what's really going on at this hospital? If I had a this isn't a complaint about the book at all, but like this book cover I don't think is like giving the real vibe of this book. Like this kind of looks like a gothic Victorian novel to me, and it's not that. It's like set in modern day, and like, you know, they were post pandemic, and like talking about that kind of stuff. I think that this book cover is like not doing a lot of favors to how good this book is. This is the first book that I've read by Caitlin Starling, and I feel like I had heard like not great things about Jane Lawrence, but now I'm like curious to go back because I really liked her writing style, and I just feel like it really got at the interiority well. I loved hearing from this character's perspective. Like she was smart, she was picking up on things, but it was still like things were out of her control. So if you're interested in stories like, um, I don't want to say like the yellow wallpaper even either, but like things where women just like don't have control over their bodies and having like this like authority put down on them. And I love like those kind of stories where it's like you're like, how are they going to get out of this, because they truly are like locked in this hospital bed and they're feeling worse every single day. So I feel like that could be very upsetting content for a lot of people, but I really actually enjoyed this, and I think it was well done. So I haven't done like a full monthly wrap up, I think, since June. So I do hope to still get to at least going like briefly over my ratings over the books that I've read in the past few months, almost half a year now, honestly. So I do still plan to get to those, but I wanted to at least, talk about some of the books that I've gotten through Netgalley and just otherwise for review. And yeah, I hope y'all are having a great October Halloween-a-thon if you're participating. And I will talk to y'all again soon. Bye.